I would ask you that we all remain in our seats over the next few minutes and provide our undivided attention to our guest speaker this evening. Tonight we are honored to have with us Sergeant Major retired Larry Walter. Sergeant Major Walter served on active duty for more than 20 years in units such as the 101st, the 3rd Eskimo Scout Battalion, the 172nd Infantry Brigade, and of course Apache Company, 212 Infantry. Where he was a squad leader in 2nd Platoon during the Battle of Soi Tre in Vietnam. In the Battle of Soi Tre, 212 soldiers were called in to rescue 3rd Battalion, 22nd Infantry at Firebase Gold, who were surrounded and outnumbered by a significant Viet Cong element. 212 soldiers fought valiantly to relieve the firebase and defeat the Viet Cong in the area, resulting in the demise of more than 600 Viet Cong and some of the fiercest fighting seen by the battalion, to include hand-to-hand combat. For their actions that day, the unit earned the Presidential Unit Citation. Sergeant Major Walter has received multiple decorations and accolades to include the Combat Infantryman's Badge, 2 Bronze Stars, and the Vietnam Cross of Gallantry with Palm. Please help me welcome Sergeant Major Walter to the podium.
First of all, I wish to thank Colonel Garey, Command Sergeant Major Scott, and Lieutenant Lawson for the invitation for myself, our wives, and all the other members from the old 2nd of the 12th. From ancient times, scholars have often pondered 2 interrelated questions. Why do men fight? And what is the basis for a special relationship that bonds between combat soldiers in war? On January 27, 1967, A Company, on a company-sized operation, moving through tall elephant grass with the 2nd Platoon in the lead, followed by the 3rd Platoon, with the 1st Platoon bringing up the rear. As we move from the tall elephant grass into the wood line, we come in contact with a force of unknown size. We had numerous casualties. We then got to within hand grenade range of each other, and then the 2nd Platoon was pulled to the rear, and the 3rd Platoon was sent forward. As soon as the 3rd Platoon had went forward, they also suffered numerous casualties. At that time, Spec 4 Donald Evans, the 3rd Platoon medic, being true to his job as a medic, belonged to the 3rd Platoon, without any hesitation, charged forth to bring them wounded men to the rear. After making numerous trips to the front, bringing wounded men back, Doc Evans, on his last trip in, was mortally wounded when a Chi-Com Claymore was blown directly at him. For them actions, Donald Evans, assigned to the 2nd and 12th Infantry, was awarded the Medal of Honor, and a gymnasium at Fort Sam Houston was named after him, along with the Donald Evans Hospital here at Fort Carson. On October 1968, during a firefight, one of your members, Spec 4 Hanneran, became missing in action. Sergeant Braniff from the old 2nd of the 12th, which was on R&R that day. He is not here today, he's sick. But Sergeant Bill Braniff has spent approximately $40,000 or $50,000 of his own money making numerous trips back to Vietnam to try to find the whereabouts of his remains, because he felt responsible for Spec 4 Hanneran. The Army's Experimental Operation and Readiness Training, better known as Cohort, which the 4th ID and the 9th ID had in Vietnam, was very similar to yours, except when the 4th ID got ready to go to Vietnam, we was down to 20% strength. The Army then drafted 16,000 people and said, you train these men because you're taking them to Vietnam with you. We had no prior training on how to conduct this type of training, but we did the best we could. The cohort program was designed to keep people together as long as possible. The cohort companies quickly reach a higher level of proficiency than units with high turnover of personnel. They score high on measures of cohesion. However, they also demand more of their leaders. Throughout the course of the 20th century, several generations of Americans answered the call to fight in foreign lands. It is likely that they had some close relatives who fought in World War I, World War II, Korea, or Vietnam. The key point is here that as a well-established tradition in most families to serve in the military when called upon. So when an individual got a message from the President of the United States, greetings, you are hereby inducted, you are hereby ordered to report for induction. They obeyed this call to serve just as their relatives had during earlier years. So it's just a matter of obeying a President's order, complying with the well-established family traditions and norms of society. But an unknown number declined to serve, especially the so-called draft dodgers who did everything possible to avoid being sent to Vietnam. In every war involved a commitment of the armed forces. We always had many who volunteered to serve in the armed forces. Like the draftees, these volunteers were influenced by family members who had served in previous wars and by the social forms of society. While these were the principal motivating factors that brought young men to Vietnam, it was also to point out that this involved a contract with Uncle Sam to serve just 365 days in Vietnam and not a day longer. By doing this, the significance of time limitation was always evident, not only by the wide range of short-timers. While these bantering reminders were mostly expressions of happiness, they also contained a hidden element of sadness because of the approaching end to some very special relationships. A soldier becomes a member of a team, and this involves a very special and treasured relationship that develops between combat soldiers in wartime, often referred to as the bond between soldiers, comrade in arms, and the band of brothers. Thus, the use of brother highlights the importance attached to this special relationship, one equal that the existence between actual blood brothers. Trust formed the cornerstones for these special relationships, and we are here referring to the ultimate form of trust, that of trusting your life with others. In combat, one has to be trust that each member of the team will act to protect the others from harm. In other words, the members of this team acted as guardian angels for each other, and their golden rule is not to let your buddies down. Combat and war brings out the best and the worst in human beings. The directions which combat stress behavior takes, positive or negative, results from the interaction of the physical and social contents in which the stress occurs and prepares the body to either fight or to flight. The purpose of good military leadership, discipline, and training is to bring out the best while preventing the worst. While patriotism and a sense of purpose will get an American soldier into the battlefield, the soldier's own accounts and many systematic studies testify that which keeps them there amid the fear of death and mutilation is above all else the loyalty to your fellow soldiers.